This program deals with themes of an adult nature and is intended for a mature audience.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on the KTPF Community Talk Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for our new weekly radio shows. To accompany the KTPF Community Talk Show, we now have our own free magazine to view online or download for free. Visit our website for more details. Also, the KTPF Community Talk Show is supported by Phenomenon Magazine and Beyond Parazine, available online now. The comments and views expressed on the KTPF Community Talk Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the views of ourselves or of our sponsors.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Hi, good evening everyone, and welcome to another edition of the KTPF Community Show Live and uncensored from Manchester at www.ktpf.co.uk. You should be getting it today, those that are listening on Ustream. I have started it. We have started broadcasting, so you should be getting it through soon. DM radio, unfortunately, is not working at the moment, so we're not coming through on there, so I don't know what's happened with that. But we are on Worsley Radio, at least we're somewhere. And also on ktpf.co.uk, our own KTPF radio. For our regular listeners, you can look at us on Ustream if you want to. Just ask us for the code. It isn't actually in the chat room. And if you're on a mobile, then you can listen to us at go-to, that's the number 2, that's gotoit.link/KTPF mobile. My name is Suzanne.
And I'm Steve.
And over in Essex, we have our regular co-host and parapsychologist and historian, Andy Mercer. Good evening, Andy.
Hello there. Hello, everybody. Excuse my voice a bit croaky. I've got a bloody cold, so I might be coughing occasionally in the background, but I'll do my best to keep it to a minimum as possible.
Oh, bless you. Bless your little cotton socks. So, right, just to let you know what's happening tonight. We're here keeping the paranormal friendly each and every Sunday. So pull up a chair and relax with us while we bring you a show full of the supernatural, the paranormal and other strange phenomena. As always, we would like to start by acknowledging our listeners this evening and to remind you that if you have any questions for us or our guest, you too can get involved with tonight's show via our live interactive chat room over at ktpf.co.uk. You can also call in via our call line by adding ktpf.paranormalshow to your Skype contacts. But please message us at the same time so we know you are listening. Don't forget, if you've missed a show, then you can listen to our last 4 podcasts at www.ktpf.co.uk and just click on podcast on our menu bar. These are also available on our YouTube channel at KTPF Community Show, along with the past shows dating back to March 2012. So we'd like to say a big hello if you are listening on our radio at KTPF, and hopefully you'll be there all the time. Later we will bring you the rundown of the events provided by our sister site at paranormaleventsforyou.com. Right, let's just let you know what's happening tonight. Tonight we're talking to Professor Antonio Paris. Author and researcher Antonio is founder and director of the Aerial Phenomena. He is also former U.S. Army Counterintelligence Officer and Department of Defense Counterintelligence Special Agent. He's the author of 2 books, Aerial Phenomena, Reviving Ufology for the 21st Century, and Space Science. Additionally, he is the director and producer for the documentaries Area 51, A History of this Reclusive Base, which came out in 2012, and Skinwalker, which came out in 2014. He has appeared on dozens of radio shows, webcasts and the TV shows Unsealed and Close Encounters, and tonight he graces our airwaves with his presence. So that's what's coming up tonight. So I'm going to hand you over to Steve for the observations for this week to get the show started. I take it you are recording, Steve.
I am indeed.
Good.
I am. Okay, and I got a couple of ghouls for you this week, little ghosties for you to have a look at. First is the mirror ghoul, or ghoul, or however you want to spell it. It's a ghost either way. I have been searching the internet for paranormal phenomenal sites, and I came across yours, writes Joanna. Please find attached a copy of a photograph of my daughter. The image was taken by her in her bedroom facing a mirror. As you can see to the bottom left of the image is the flash of the digital camera that she was holding. However, if you look to the left hand corner above her shoulder, there is a face. My home has many spirits in it, and I do have many images, but they are not clear enough. I hope you find this image suitable for the paranormal gallery, and I would love to read any feedback. I can promise you that the photo is not fake. The only thing I have done is cover my daughter's face for her own privacy. Well, personally, I see something, but whom, what, I don't know. If it turns slightly to the right, I think I can see a face. If I go straight up again, it's a bit iffy. What do you guys think to that one?
It's just, I like to see the original image about the circle around the thing that she says is a face, because that changes the colouring. It makes it look more, I don't know. No, Skinwalker for me. Parado, definitely. I can make it what might be considered to be one eye socket, but that's about it. I can't see a nose. I can't see a mouth. I can't. No. I think it's just. I tell you what it looks like to me. This is a flash of someone take a picture in a mirror. Look at the stripes, the stripiness around. Part of it's blocked off by the square, but there's almost vertical lines. That diva sticker is on a mirror. I'm sure it is, and that's probably just a thumbprint or a handprint on the mirror. That's what it looks like to me.
Could be. Mossy said it looks freaky. And Veteran Man said whoever it is, they have a good suntan. Here we go again. My niece stayed at home the night before last, says Naturally H. She slept in my son's bedroom, which is opposite the landing. Myself and my husband had gone to sleep as we were both shattered. She was on her mobile phone taking Snapchat pictures directly in front of her to send to her friend. Apparently this is what they do, and had a caption underneath. As she looked at the screen on her phone, she thought she noticed something, and so saved the picture and changed the contrast on it. Then she saw what looks like a face peeping around the banister at the top of my stairs. She was so frightened that she lay awake all night terrified, but didn't want to come and disturb us. There have never been any other occurrences except one. About 2 years ago, I was on the landing and I was about to hang washing. I was wearing a onesie with a hood, and I felt someone pull it, which at the time really shook me up. I tried to find a logical explanation for it at the time, but to this day I am not sure what it was. My husband says it's the lighting, but I am convinced, as you can clearly see the shape of a face, it is underneath the carrier bag which was hanging on my banister. Now, although darker, that picture is actually clearer than the last one.
Yes. It certainly is clearer, but what it is, I wouldn't even like to guess. I mean, it's hard to make anything out. The image is very dark. A bit of light blasting could possibly improve it, but I don't know. I mean, it's more face-like than the first one, certainly, but again, I would be hesitant to say it was a face, only that it has face-like characteristics that we've often talked about before. That's how the human eye perceives these sorts of things. It looked for familiar features, particularly faces in random shapes, a natural phenomenon that we all do. We call it pareidolia.
Yeah.
It's better than the first one, certainly, but I would say I wasn't convinced. What about you?
Okay, I can see what looks like a face, but it's the same as usual. With it being too dark, you've got nothing to put it against or anything else. Ghost Rider, who's happens to be with us tonight, although not on mic, said it looks like the girl from The Exorcist.
Vectra Man sent it to Bob Marley.
So who knows? It's there for you guys to make up your own mind anyway. Here we go. Now this one, John actually sent to us, although I found it through a different link, and somebody else sent it to us as well. Staff at the store are so petrified of the ghost they are closing early on Halloween.
Oh, yes.
This eerie video shows a poltergeist hurling objects from the shelves of a haunted supermarket in the middle of the night. Strange goings on at the Co-op in Whaley Bridge, Derbyshire, have terrified staff to such an extent they are closing early on All Hallows Eve. The decision to close at 9:30, 90 minutes earlier, comes as a series of spooky goings on. Now, I watched this video, and if that's what they call hurling, I saw it wrong. Doors rattle in the frames, stock items mysteriously fall off shelves, the light flickers. Rumours of hauntings in the building have been around for 100 years. Chris Armstrong, regional manager, said the store built on a set of old cellars, very dim and dusty down there. Lots of windows still have bars on them. Unexplained stock movements are happening, doors rattling in the frames, and when there's nobody anywhere near them, it's been thought to be haunted for certainly 100 years. But in the past few years, there have been more and more happenings, which have led their staff to believe there is definitely something in the story. In Halloween week, the manager apparently decided he doesn't want to be there.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Interesting video. I don't know.
Again, it's one of those things that could easily be fake or could be quite genuine. It really is hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, one of our team actually gave us the phone number and said ring them up and go and have a look.
Yeah.
See if we can find anything ourselves. Okie dokie. This time,
What do you have next for us, Mr. Steve?
I have an interesting UFO for you. A UFO.
Oh, that's mine. Oi. Later. Please ignore this image.
I'm so sorry. I did not know. Father and son pair had reportedly captured stunning footage of a TR-3B type triangle UFO with a bizarre butterfly shape flying in the sky near the Ohio-Kentucky border. According to the YouTube UFO hunters Secretarium 10, who uploaded the image to the YouTube on October the 26th, 2015, the aerodynamic triangle-shaped alien UFO was captured on Saturday, October the 24th, by a father and son pair identified as Tom, the dad, and Christopher, the son, as they were leaving the restaurant in an undisclosed location near the border of Ohio and Kentucky, about 7 p.m. local time. The pair were also able to snap stunningly clear photographs of the triangle TR-3B type UFO that have sent enthusiasts into a tizzy. Hey, we're in a tizzy.
Into a tiswat.
Express draws attention to the butterfly shape of the black UFO, spotting bright lights on its underbelly. The strange craft moves slowly across the sky in an eerie silence like a stealth reconnaissance craft. Well, that could be one clue for you there, guys. If it looks like a butterfly, it's a butterfly. If it don't, it's something else. Rows of windows and chambers with glowing lights can be seen along the body of the UFO, and it exhibits clearly unearthworldly characteristics according to the witnesses. Express writes that Ted Glockner, who runs the Secretarium 10 YouTube channel, said the father and son both described the craft as eerily silent, and the rows of windows, chambers, glowing lights and other characteristics that simply don't jive with anything you can imagine on Earth. If you look at this and convince yourself, hey, it's just one of ours, aliens are not visitors, well, whatever it takes for you to sleep at night. This is simply amazing footage. One more piece of the puzzle I can lay my head knowing we have not alone for some time. Our alien scouts checking out the world ahead of an invasion? According to Tom and Christopher, about 5 minutes after they filmed the strange alien craft, 2 military helicopters zoomed across the sky, apparently to investigate the mysterious UFO phenomenon. The father and son pair reported that they were stunned to see the two military helicopters as they drove away from the scene of the sighting, but they were unable to snap photos of the helicopters because they appeared unexpectedly and flew out of sight too quickly. The stunningly clear footage is an alleged UFO has sparked excitement online UFO community. The footage has gone viral, with UFO enthusiasts saying it is possibly the clearest alien UFO footage ever caught on camera. Some have declared that this would be the long-awaited proof of alien UFO activity in Earth's atmosphere. Now, I got one thing to say, but why would it be alien? I mean, come on, guys. You see a ship of some description. It could just as easily be from what we saw there. It's silent. It's moving slowly. It could just as easily be a kite.
Yes.
I mean,
a hang glider.
I mean, yes, there's something there, but from the way it moves and just glides slowly, it could just be that.
Yeah, I mean, the thought that came to my mind when I was watching it was hang glider.
Especially if you're seeing it from a distance.
Yes.
Because I mean, if you've got like you say, a hang glider in that shape, and you've got the clear, you'd see the sun through it.
Yes, I mean, it's not,
which would make it look like it's got lights on it. So
the high quality imagery could easily be, someone has removed the image of the hang glider and the person hanging from the bottom of it on the hang glider.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that is what it is. It's a possibility, guys, and all the time there's other possibilities. We have to look into them. I'm afraid we can't just say, "Oh, look, it's an alien spaceship."
I think it's a bit odd that they said they didn't have time to photograph the helicopters. Helicopters don't move that fast across the sky, but they're quick. But you don't have time to get your phone out and take a quick picture. And so say they didn't have time to do that. I find it a bit strange. The other thing I thought was a little bit odd is if you look at the image that you're seeing and then the close-up, the one that's further down, the sort of the grey background close-up, unless they've tilted the image for some reason, it doesn't appear to ever be at that angle. You see what I'm saying? It's more, the photograph further down is almost horizontal and vertical, whereas the image itself is more V-like. It's as if it's been tilted. But the footage that they've got and then the photographs don't kind of tie in properly in terms of the angle the craft appears to be at. As you watch about a minute into the video footage, the craft appears to be tilted further over than it is in the actual footage. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Almost
So
like
I'm just having a look at the one that Dave Lloyd just put up. Maybe that's an ideal one for you, Andy.
What's that? I'm sorry, I'm on the other bit.
Video and all, spaceship.
Is that your last your last thing?
That was my last one, Susie.
Right. Well, I'm going to go on to my two penneth, and boy, am I going to have a two penneth.
Thank you. Yes.
Seeing as I've got plenty of time.
Like £5.50.
Yeah.
Right, well, back on the 7th of October, I was approached by a young man who wanted to know some stories as UK shadow seekers, whether we'd caught anything at all on camera, blah, 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 and whether he could use it for Associated Press, I'm assuming. That's what you call it. So I gave him a story about a photograph that we'd taken back in 2007. And basically, well, it was 2006 actually. Basically, I explained to him about the story, what happened on the night, and he was over it and said, yeah, that would be great, blah, blah, blah. Now, when it came to be put in the papers, it was on the Mail online, and it was also put in the Daily, the Mirror online, that was it. On the Mail online, the title is this the ghost of a pub landlord who hanged himself? Spooky figure of a man is pictured in supposedly haunted bar. Now, this was by a guy called Hugo Guy for the Mail Online. I'm not going to read it. Reason being is because apart from some of the stuff that I said was true, it was in there saying it was taken over a year ago. That was the first thing. Okay, yeah, it was over a year ago. It was bloody 8 years ago. But the other thing was, they'd gone into my Facebook pictures, and one of the pictures they'd taken was a picture of me, Steve, and Jason Carl at one of his Screamfest, and linked him to the actual event. Do you know what I mean, Andy?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it took me a couple of days to get them to... I wanted them to remove it. I contacted Jason Cole's agent to tell him that this has happened and this isn't down to me. He wasn't very impressed, which you can understand.
Ooh.
And they finally changed the description of the picture. Discovery, Ghost Hunter Steve and Suzanne Taggart, who captured the bizarre site. They are pictured with former Most Haunted star Jason Cole. So we've got around that one. That was in the Mail on online. The one that the bloke that actually approached me, David Keane, his article was fine in the Mirror, not a problem, apart from the fact it said over a year ago. And he explained afterwards that if he'd have said it was 8 years ago, you know what I mean? It would have... They wouldn't have bothered with it. And that one's called Ghost of Hanged Pub Landlord Captured on Camera for first time. But the one I'm going to tell you about is, after it was put in the paper, I was contacted by a gentleman for something called York Mix. And I'll put the link on the chat room for you so you can have a look. Right, and I'm going to read you what he said. The only thing that he did wrong was, in my opinion, was he'd got the date wrong. He put 2007 instead of 2006, but he's in the ballpark, you know what I mean, Andy?
Yeah.
Right, revealed for the first time, photo of ghost in one of York's most haunted pubs. Suzanne's picture, because there's a picture there, and he's actually got the original, which I found after speaking to him, because he wanted a better resolution, so I found the original for him, actually. Suzanne's picture, you can see the barmaid coming in from the left, but she's not alone. Who is that shadowy figure behind the bar? That is the question that has dogged Suzanne Taggart ever since she took this picture in the Golden Fleece on pavement in York. The pub is said to be among the most haunted in the country, with as many as 15 different ghosts spotted there. One of the founders of paranormal investigation team UK Shadow Seekers, Suzanne took a team to investigate the Golden Fleece in September 2007. He's a year out, but as I say, he's in the ballpark. It was then that she took this photograph, but she hadn't made it public until now. And there's a close-up there of the figure, and there's also a couple of inserts. The Golden Fleece is one of York's earliest coaching inns, with the first record of its existence dating to 1503. A ghost named One-Eyed Jack, wearing a 16th century red coat and carrying a pistol, has been seen in the bottom bar, which is where this was taken. I've been sitting on it for years, I told him. It's one that's bugged me for quite some time. She described the shape as very creepy and deeply unsettling. The figure lets no light through. It completely obscures a kitchen door behind it. When I took the photograph, I made sure that nobody was behind the bar, because I was actually taking a picture of how good the bar looked. At the last moment, the barmaid entered the frame on the left, but there doesn't appear to be any way she could have cast a shadow like the one seen in the picture, and she later confirmed there was no one behind the bar with her. I can't fathom him out, neither can the people we've shown it to, Suzanne said. She speculated that it might be the spirit of a former landlord who hung himself. I don't know whether it tells you further on, which it doesn't. But basically there's a false ceiling there, and apparently the hook where he hung himself is supposed to still be above the false ceiling. There's also an EVP there. The group also took recording equipment and captured electronic voice phenomena, EVP. We took an EVP at the same time upstairs. Well, the same night. I don't know about the same time. Sounds like a little girl saying, "Now I will show you." We heard the taps come on at the same time, which we did. Suzanne and her team, based in Greater Manchester, have undertaken research in reportedly haunted locations across the UK. In more than the 10 years of carrying out investigations, she has never come across anything as strange as the Golden Fleece photograph. In the Second World War, a Canadian airman fell to his death from one of the upstairs windows at the Golden Fleece and then took up residence as a ghost. She has returned to the pub in the years since, but has never replicated what happened that night. I'd love to go back, to be honest with you, she said. We very rarely pick up stuff apart from the Golden Fleece. which is true. We don't. I can count on one hand, you know what I mean, how much I've actually picked up in the time I've been a paranormal investigator. Because it doesn't always happen, does it, Andy?
Absolutely. It's always a very rare phenomenon.
Yeah. With paranormal investigations, we're there to debunk it. Over 10 years, I can probably count on one hand the stuff we've actually picked up on, but nothing as good as the Golden Fleece. If anyone can shed some light on it, then fair enough. Now, we did have somebody recently, a couple of years ago, light blast it, and they couldn't penetrate it with this program they had. They could only get some sort of interference around the outline of it. They couldn't actually penetrate the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it is one that I'm not sure about. I'd love somebody to debunk it. I really would. But I tell you now, it's definitely not photoshopped. I don't know how to use it. Somebody gave me it, Photoshop, to do some posters. I took one look at it and thought, no chance, I'll stick with Publisher. I'll be honest with you, I cannot work Photoshop. So I ended up throwing the disc away. But as I say, do I, Andy?
So to create that effect on Photoshop is not impossible. It's quite difficult because you've got very much the pumps are still very clear.
Precisely.
If photoshopped, you'll get sort of a blocking effect around the edges of the pumps because you need to think of a lasso.
I don't know how Photoshop works, but I know that from what I've seen on TV, on internet and that, people have said it's been photoshopped. They're bloody good at doing it. I know that much.
As I say, the lassoing effect often gets little tiny chips on the edges of things.
Yeah.
But no, it is a very good photograph. I mean, it's one of the funny things because I know you guys. I know you'd never in a million years fake anything, so I know I can believe this picture. But you can say if you were a complete stranger, you stuck it on a website and just read it through, like Steve does of our stuff for the review of the news.
Yeah, it's like with the EVP. The way that worked out, we was in St Catherine's room, and there's a little ensuite toilet shower, and in the Most Haunted, if you've seen the Most Haunted version, Stuart gets shut in it, and there's no handle on the outside of it. Okay, there's just one of them pull handles. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we were in there calling out, and so we had somebody in the toilet sitting on the loo at the time. She was just sitting there. I stress to add. But she said she wouldn't shut the door because she was a bit scared. So we're calling out, and it was the end of the vigil. Had my dictaphone on, and we're saying, "Can you do something for us?" Blah blah blah. Then I heard her say, "The taps are running." Now Steve had been round before we started, and we got there about 8 o'clock, tightening up all the taps, and making sure that they weren't on. Now we was in vigil at 10 o'clock, because you can't start there straight away, you know.
Yes.
We was in vigil at 10 o'clock, right, and it was at least 10 o'clock when we was in that room, and you're thinking 45 minutes to an hour, to the end of the vigil, and then the taps start dripping. Steve openly admits that maybe he's tightened them up too tight. So we can't debunk that. You know, I mean, we can't say that's paranormal. It could be a possibility that he's tightened them too tight and they've worked their way loose.
Well, certainly
Steve would actually openly admit that.
It would have taken a while to have done that, which makes it a little unusual.
Yeah. So when I went down to my break, because apart from that, there was nothing else happening. Yeah. Because, as I say, when he checked the taps originally and tightened them up, he made sure that the sink was dry. So we went downstairs, and I'm listening to my dictaphone, and that's when I heard that voice, which is on that news article as well, saying, "Now I will show you." And it was right after that, we faintly heard the woman in the toilet saying, "The taps are dripping." So, am I putting two and two together? Am I coming up with 5?
I wouldn't say so.
You know what I mean? So, and that to me is my best ever evidence that I can actually say, hold my hands up, it could be paranormal. I still say there must be something wrong. You know what I mean? I just don't want to say definitely 100% it's paranormal. There's got to be some explanation. And if anyone can give me an explanation...
But we can't find it.
Oh, we can't find it, no. You know what I mean?
It is a problem because you can't be definitive that it's definitely a parallel event.
Yeah. And it does bug me. I'll be honest with you, it bugs me so often that I can't say yes or no. You know what I mean? But it is really weird, and it is something that has really, really got me. Thanks for that, Vector Man, saying it was a nice shot. And then what it was, a couple of people have said on the newspaper reports, weird angle, why take it from there? Well, I was sitting down having a meal. I just finished my meal and I took it where I sat. You know what I mean? So that was the case, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, you actually took one before it, and the barmaid got in the way. So
yeah.
So you had to retake it.
So I had to retake it, make sure she weren't there, because she went out one way. And as I went to take it, I don't know where she came from. There must be another opening in the top of the bar or something.
Yeah, but there was 2 barmaids on, so.
Yeah, the first one, she just came out the kitchen, didn't she?
Yeah, she got.
So I made her make sure she was out the way, because I didn't want nobody behind the bar. I wanted it to be a picture of the bar, you know. So, but yeah, it's one that I cannot debunk. And, I openly wish somebody would. But anyway, that's my story and my 2 penneth anyway. So hopefully I've explained that. But yeah, it does annoy me that people take this, take the wrong word in. Why? I can understand what you're saying. If he'd have put it down that it was 8 years ago, they probably wouldn't have picked it up. So that's why he put over a year. Fair enough.
Over a year, it is a little rather crafty with the wording, isn't it?
I know, this is it. But to take pictures...
But he's trying to make a living.
Yeah, I know.
No, yeah, but the picture was taken by somebody else.
But to take the picture...
It wasn't him, though,
it wasn't the original guy, but to take the picture off my Facebook photos, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Take pictures of something connected. I didn't mind him taking the picture of me and Steve, not a problem. He could have took that. But to take the picture of Jason Carl and associate him with it.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention it, and Jason Carl was not even mentioned in the article. Apart from that.
He wasn't, but it makes for a better story if you can link a famous name to it.
So I'm just glad this other guy's come on board, and he's basically put it right.
The way it should be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I am glad about that. But anyway, that's my gripe. And it was a gripe.
To say over a year ago is like saying, well, World War II ended over a year ago.
Well, this is it.
Well, it did, didn't it?
It's playing with words, isn't it? It's just playing with words. But if you remember, we were talking before, just to tell everybody else, I came across an interview online with some online journalist on a website that he'd conducted with me, quoting me saying various things, except I'd never heard of him or the website or said half the things he'd quoted from me. And I managed to get in contact with the guy, and he admitted that he'd found an interview I did with the Metro newspaper in London a couple of years previously, and basically cut and paste from that. He just copied the wording out. And I was not very pleased, to say the least. I mean, he didn't say anything detrimental, but it was a couple of sentences that I would never use, not my kind of language. But yeah, this guy had borrowed them. I was rather annoyed, to say the least. So people do steal things and then rewrite them, shall we say.
Right, bear with me, I'm just...
Contacting our guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Find out if he's ready. But, I mean, going back to the guy that originally said over a year ago, it's the guy who's living, he wants to get paid.
Of course, absolutely.
I mean,
I'm more annoyed with the fact that he used the other guy, this Hugo chap, used the Jason Cole picture.
Yeah.
I'm more annoyed at that, to be honest with you. So, right, we're going to get this guy. Get this guy on the blower.
Mm-hmm.
What's the blower?
So.
I've not heard that for ages. When was the last time you heard somebody say he's on the blower?
He's on the blower.
It's a rather old-fashioned phrase from down south.
Isn't it just?
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Right, we've got 45 minutes.
Is he not ready? Or is that all the time you can give us?
Yeah. There's been a death in the family.
Oh, right.
Right,
Do
okay.
it as quick as we can.
Hello.
Hi there, Antonio. Can I call you Antonio?
I'm doing good. Let me adjust my volume here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very, very well. Thank you.
Awesome, great.
Sorry to hear about what you just said, by the way.
Yeah, he was 100 years old, so it was just time,
Okay. Well, we'll get this interview over with as quick as possible.
Oh, it doesn't have to be too fast. I mean, it's a good conversation when it comes to Skinwalker. So.
Oh, right, okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Antonio Paris, the founder and director of Aerial Phenomena. And also, as I said to you, he's a U.S. Army Counterintelligence officer. And at the moment, he works for science, technology, and engineering firm Science Applications International Incorporated. Oh my God, that's a mouthful. That is a mouthful. There's quite a lot there. Have a look at his profile on our forum. There's quite a lot there. You can find out about him. Okay, so Antonio, thank you for giving us your time. I'm really appreciative of it. But first of all, can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, so my full-time job, I guess what pays the bills, I'm a professor of astronomy here in Tampa Bay. I'm also a director for space programs at a science center called the Museum of Science and Industry. The previous job you mentioned, SCIC, I am no longer employed there.
Oh, okay.
That's when I was in Washington, D.C. and decided to move to Florida. So other than that, my background is astronomy. I'm a scientist, and when time allows, I like to chase UFOs and other paranormal cases.
All right. So what first got you into all this? What was your first experience with a ghost, spirit, energy, or UFO?
It wasn't an experience. It's just I have always been fascinated by UFOs and also a little bit paranormal, and really had didn't really have enough time until about maybe 10 years ago, where I left the military and had more time to study these things. And that's what I did. I did some training through MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network here in the U.S., also internationally. So I received my training through them, which was pretty good training. And then I decided to leave MUFON so I can do this on my own.
Right, okay. So can you tell us, is it your line of work that makes you interested in this sort of thing? Is this what got you into it? The fact that you
I
were
would
interested?
say a little bit. I was a previous investigator with the Department of Defense. As a scientist, I have a scientific investigations background, like following the science process. And initially, it was looking at, I was always interested in life in the universe. I think we're all interested, whether or not we're alone in the universe. And I think with that mindset, and then looking at UFO phenomena, that's what really got me interested. Are any of those UFOs that are visiting here are extraterrestrial? It was during my time studying UFOs that I started getting cross investigations, where some of the paranormal started to bleed into some of these UFO cases. Including the Skinwalker Ranch, where is it paranormal or is it extraterrestrial? That's the activities over in Utah.
Yeah.
So I think some of the crossover, I started getting a little interested in paranormal. I don't do too many paranormal investigations, unless there's some type of UFO element involved in that paranormal case.
Okay. So can you tell us the story behind the Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah, sure. So for a couple of years now, I have been interested in what's going on there. I think what happened was I was looking at some UFO cases out of Utah, and I came across the subject of Skinwalker Ranch through a good friend of mine named John Alexander out in Las Vegas. And, he came down a couple of years ago to Baltimore, where I was holding a UFO conference, and he told me, hey, have you heard of Skinwalker Ranch, or they're known as Sherman Ranch? And I was like, yeah, kind of, but it's more like paranormal. And he was like, no, there's a lot of UFO activity there as well. So for about 6 months, I was, doing as much research I could about black triangles at Skinwalker Ranch, portals where UFOs come out, all types of orbs. And then I was researching more and more. I started learning about other activities there, including the alleged Skinwalker, which is a shapeshifter, paranormal activity, apparently the portals that open up, and these beings that look like Bigfoot come in and out. So it's kind of like a whole smorgasbord of paranormal activity allegedly going on over at Skinwalker.
Now, I read that the ranch, also known as the Sherman or Gorman Ranch, has had these, as you say, these sightings of UFOs and Bigfoot and unknown stuff. When did you become interested in this?
I would say about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we had the opportunity. Actually, it's more like a year and a half ago. After studying it for about 6 months, we decided, hey, why don't we just go down there and see what's going on? So I researched for the top, I guess, most experienced UFO paranormal investigator for Skinwalker Ranch, and it was by a guy named Ryan Skinner. Ryan Burns. And so I met up with him over Skype. We talked for a while, and he invited me to go down there. And we did. We spent a week down there doing all types of tests, research, investigations. And it was a quite interesting place. You know, we did see some abnormal activity going on. And I think it piqued my interest where I think we're again this winter. If it's not snowing, you know, and I think that's the plan, is to go again here in a couple months.
Right. So can you tell us a bit about your investigations? Can you set the scene for us?
Yeah, so first things you guys got to understand is that it is still a private ranch.
Yeah.
So there's no trespassing allowed. And so, but there's good standoff. There are certain locations where you can actually physically set up your investigation and camp out throughout the night because it's public property. It's like state park property. So you can physically hang out there without being in trouble. And that's what we did. So, you know, we have all the typical equipment that most paranormal investigators have, everything from infrared, actual night vision, motion sensors, radiation detectors, all that cool stuff. But half of the investigation was centered on interviewing as many people as possible in the area. This includes local ranchers, farmers, even the local tribunal police. And what's interesting is that, you know, we must have, I don't know, maybe interviewed 30 or 40 people, and about half of them who's been there all their lives has seen all kind of strange activity. And then the other half who's also been there their entire lives haven't seen anything. So it's kind of an interesting, you know, when you look at that phenomena in itself. What we've learned a lot about the ranch itself, that was quite interesting. So we know it's owned by a guy named Robert Bigelow, who's a millionaire out of Las Vegas. And if you don't know, he owns Latos. He's the one that's building the inflatables to go into space. So he has a decent aerospace company. And here's the interesting part about the ranch. We learned, and we got to talk to the security guys there who are contractors from URS. And URS, here's where the conspiracy comes in. The URS corporation are also the ones that do the security for Area 51.
Yeah. So
that's legitimate information. We've done a lot of research, so that's kind of interesting. So here's the deal. It is alleged that there are certain areas in Utah, specifically Skinwalker Ranch, that are allegedly kind of like stargates or portals where things come in and out from other dimensions. It is alleged now that Bigelow knew about this stuff. He bought the property for that purpose, to research it. And he's not the only one. I wish I had my list on me, but as we interviewed other people in the area, we have been told that the Department of Defense and the Army in particular also bought tons of acres and acres of other ranches in that very same area, because allegedly there were other portals there as well. Now, we haven't seen these portals. We have been told by Ryan and other investigators in the area that these are Native American portals where these entities come in and out. John Alexander, who was originally one of the scientists over at Skinwalker Ranch, told me that he calls this thing like a trickster.
Yeah.
This entity is a trickster, and he called it a sentient phenomena, where this thing can manifest itself to whatever it wants. So if it wants to be a skinwalker, it manifests itself to skinwalker. If it wants to become a black triangle, it'll become a black triangle, and so on and so on. So the sentient phenomena is the one that controls what you want to see. Now, here's the interesting part. The thing allegedly knows already that you're going to go there. Hence, it's called a precognitive? Yeah, sentient phenomena.
Yeah.
So if I was to go there looking for UFOs, it would become a UFO. If a team goes out there looking for extraterrestrials, it'll manifest itself into extraterrestrials or UFOs or werewolves, you name it. So that's basically what it all comes down to. Skinwalker Ranch, portals, a sentient phenomenon. So we went out there to look for strange stuff, and we saw some strange stuff, which is kind of interesting. For example, within the first 5 minutes that we got there, all our equipment died.
Wow.
And as a good investigator, I checked everything before we left the hotel.
Yeah.
Or, triple redundancy. All my batteries were functioning, fully charged. Night vision, was working perfectly. And everything just failed when we got there. So we were like, holy cow. We ended up had to go back and recharge everything. So when the second time we came back, everything worked as well. My wife, Cherish, who went with us, she was sick. As soon as she was fine when we got to Utah. It was when we got to the ranch, she was just completely out of it. She couldn't function. She was throwing up. We tried to attribute this to high altitude sickness because it's kind of up there. I think it's about 4,000 or 5,000 feet.
Yeah.
But she was fine as soon as we would go back to the hotel, which is in the same town. So the altitude change was not a big difference. So I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
We really couldn't explain what that was.
Okay.
And then, so she ended up going back back to the hotel the nights that we were out there investigating with Ryan and my deputy, Paul. And we saw a couple of strange things. We saw a couple of strange orbs just kind of like pop out of nowhere. We can say it's man-made or some guy pulling a trick on us. It could be because people knew we were out there. And I thought that was kind of strange. We also thought that it was strange that there was nobody there during the daytime. But at nighttime, the place got really alive. We would do random patrols. They'd flash us with hypes to mess up our night vision and things like that. So we knew there was counter surveillance going on. And we heard strange noises. We saw strange shadows we couldn't account for. So that's basically what we saw on any given night. But we didn't see any UFOs. We didn't see the Skinwalker itself. But I also have to admit, we were just there for a week. If we, I would love to go back and spend another week and then another week and do a more thorough investigation.
Right. Okay. Did you have a question, Steve?
Yeah, it was just a quick one there, Antonia. Going back to your batteries, doesn't altitude affect certain batteries?
Yeah, we did. We researched. Obviously, as a good investigator, we researched whether the altitude or the cold had effects on lithium batteries, and some of the research said it could have. If there is an immediate change in altitude, like going from very low altitude to very high altitude, almost like in an aircraft, really quick change in altitude, that can cause a drainage. But we really didn't go that high that fast. When we landed in Salt Lake City, we were in pretty stable altitude for a couple of days, and the batteries function normally. So, and then at the hotel, which is only, we were about 20 minutes away from the ranch, there's not a significant change in altitude, maybe only a couple, not even 100 feet. So it was an anomaly. It was an anomaly. Everything was charged, and we had different types of batteries too. It was just not lithium. You're talking your standard AA,
Yeah.
and AAA's. So it was funny to see a lot of these. I think it was most of them actually. These batteries just quickly drain, and we went back, charged them for a couple hours, came back, and nothing happened to them the second time. So that was kind of weird.
Right. Now, we mentioned that we're calling this a Skinwalker Ranch. How does it relate to the ranch? Is it down to the Utes? Does it go far back as that?
Okay, so here is the whole, I guess, historical background on what's going on there. Yes, the actual ranch is just next to the Ute reservation.
Right.
And the Ute reservation is kind of scattered everywhere. It's not like one section here, and then different. It's really, it almost looks like look at a chessboard. One box is Ute over here, and then you got public land, and then you got Ute reservation again. So from a legal perspective, it's almost like a nightmare. And okay, and what the story is. If you look at a map of Utah, there's a place called Sago Canyon. And Sago Canyon is directly south, a couple hundred miles south of the ranch. We went to Sago Canyon and we saw the petroglyphs. These petroglyphs look like aliens. You've seen these before. And if you draw a line from Sago Canyon, it's almost a straight line all the way north up to Skinwalker Ranch or that area.
Yeah.
They call this line Skinwalker Valley. Basically, it's this whole line, and so it's not just Skinwalker Ranch. This entire canyon from Sago to the ranch has been a smorgasbord for this type of activity. Lots of UFOs, Skinwalker Ranch sightings, you name it, paranormal sightings. So it's alleged that the Ute reservations and the Utes were the original Skinwalkers. Skinwalkers are humans that can actually shapeshift into whatever they want. Not just the witch itself, but in different types of animals.
Right.
So that's the legend behind that. Now, the second story behind that is that during the Civil War, is it the Civil War? Yeah, during the Civil War, a company of Negro or African American Buffalo soldiers were stationed in an area where the ranch is today. Historically, and I found this historically. The Ute Native Americans actually slaughtered the Buffalo soldiers during the Civil War and buried them there. So the story is that the paranormal activity are the ghosts from these Buffalo soldiers that have been buried in the area.
Right. Okay. So, are you still there?
I'm here.
All right. Is your dog whimpering? Have you got a dog whimpering?
That's a dog whimpering.
I
Give me 1 second. I am going to let her out for 1 second.
Okay.
Emma, take the dog outside.
Oh, bless her.
Used to having dogs around, aren't we, sir?
Poor dog's there with his.
Sorry about that. She wants to be on the podcast too, but I told the dog she can't.
Oh, I get the same problem with our
She's
dog.
a German Shepherd.
Now, when it comes to the Gorman family, when they occupied the ranch, they were tormented by unrelated incidents of weirdness. As I say, that was all unrelated. They had things like UFO sightings, some bulletproof wolf, even Men in Black, poltergeist activity, ghostly hauntings and stuff, Bigfoot, including the Mothman, and stuff. And an RV was said to have leapt over their fence, only to turn into a UFO and fly off, and cattle mutilations. What do you think was going on there? Do you think it was just down to the fact it was taking your perception on what you believed was going on?
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's this precognitive sentient phenomena.
Yeah.
Is one thing that can just basically take advantage of your mental state.
Yeah.
Or whatever your fears are, and that's what it becomes. That's That's at least what the story is. I'll tell you what was really interesting. I was looking for UFOs and any related activity, and that's what I saw. I saw orbs. I saw, strange lights hovering over the ranch, and I've got some images of that. So, is that a coincidence? I don't know. Is it, kids playing tricks on me with lights and drones? I don't know. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So, yeah, historically, I think it started in the 60s or 70s, the Shermans and the ranch there itself. All types of activities, things, UFOs that can shapeshift and transform themselves into extraterrestrials, cattle mutilations. I've read a story, actually, John Alexander. If you guys know who John Alexander is, you can research him. Yeah, so he's like the number one investigator when it comes to the ranch itself.
Right.
Anyway,
Okay.
he was telling me a story once that him and his team were literally standing there, and they next to the cattle, and they turned their face for like half a second, and when they looked to the right, the cattle was just dropped dead on the floor and had these weird laser marks and incisions on them. So this a cattle mutilation happened within a microsecond in front of the eyes of not investigators. These were like 6 or 7 doctors and PhD or scientists hired by Bigelow to figure out what was going on there.
Right. Okay. Now, was there any stories that you were able to put to rest that were linked to the ranch? Do you know if there was anything there that you could say that's the reason why?
No, actually, I don't. Because it's just so many stories. I like the folklore behind the area. I speaking with the Ute reservation sheriffs and police. These guys have some really interesting historical perspective. The Ute, slaughtered the I think it was cavalry. Now that I think about it, the cavalry of soldiers there because they were just so anti-American. And ever since that slaughter took place, there's just been a lot of paranormal activity that's going on there. As far as I know, no one has actually physically been on the ranch itself to study the phenomena from a paranormal investigation perspective, other than John Alexander and his team back in the 90s. And it's just, for me, it's interesting why this billionaire has so much interest in just a couple of acres of land. There's nothing going on. There's no ranching whatsoever. There's no farming going on. But what we found interesting was that there was security, 24-hour security, motion sensors, infrared cameras, triple barbed wire fence. Some people say there might be an underground base under there, and that could be an exit or an entry. That's a possibility. That's something that I can probably entertain. We did see a lot of vehicles coming in and out, only to this little ranch, this little house sitting on the ranch. So that could be a possibility that there's something underground.
It does sound weird, doesn't it? That you've got all this
and we also
there.
saw some high frequency UHF antennas, out of the roof of the little farm. So it would not be far-fetched or science fiction to assume that there could be something underground, a small military facility doing R&D and something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be.
Well, if you get to go back sometime to do another investigation, would you be prepared to come back on our show and tell us what you found?
Oh yeah, of course, no problem.
Brilliant.
I'm really ready to go back. I've been busy this year, but I spoke with Ryan, and he's more than welcome to go back out there with me. I just find it such an interesting place.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Lots of black triangles have been reported in the area too recently. So.
You made a DVD about the Skinwalker Ranch. Can you still get this? And what does it tell us?
Basically, it's a history of the ranch. It's a 40-minute documentary. I'd say about 10 minutes is talking about the Ute reservations, their history. We went up to Washington, D.C. to the National Native American Museum, so we did some research on that tribe. We did some interviews, lots of interviews, with John Alexander and other paranormal investigators that have been out there. And just, it's everything from UFOs, alleged extraterrestrials, entities, you name it, and some of the footage from the investigation,
Right.
including some interesting lights in the sky, shadows, and things like that.
Right, okay. Now, you've also a director and producer of the documentary Area 51, History of this Reclusive Base. What do you know about this place that could enlighten enthusiasts, and what are the similarities between the two?
Oh, the biggest similarity is that you have an organization called URS. It used to be called EG&G, defense contractor that are the sole winning contractors for protecting the area around Area 51 and Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
Okay.
And Area 51 is a very interesting place. We obviously know there's classified work going on there, and we don't need to know what's going on there. It's none of our business. It's national security. People always tell me, we need to know, and I tell everybody, no, you do not. That's just the way the classified work area works. But just like any other place that has a lot of folklore, it is alleged that Area 51 is also the prime location for reverse engineering extraterrestrial technology that might have crashed or been provided by alleged extraterrestrials. Here's the deal with that. There's a lot of good stories, some unusual sightings, but there's no really actual proof. There's no. Where's the pudding? Where's the actual physical proof that aliens are there? So it's a great place. Here's the problem with Area 51. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's like the state of Florida. Obviously, it's not something that one or two investigators can investigate in a couple of days. So the place is massive. It's desert, so it's very dangerous. Let's not even talk about UFOs and aliens. It's a dangerous place. Deserts are dangerous, and lots of dangerous animals and things can happen.
Right.
So I was out there for about a week. Saw some cool looking aircraft doing some testings. But I didn't see anything out there that was paranormal.
Right, now considering that there are the same security people at the two bases, is there any evidence to suggest that the military are involved in the Skinwalker Ranch and have you ever combined your interest in aerial photography and flown over the ranch or
I did a lot of aerial searches, including Google, and Ryan is pretty smart. He had a drone with lots of high definition cameras, and he took lots of imagery of Skinwalker Ranch. There's not a lot at Skinwalker Ranch. Right. I want you to think of this 4 mile by 4 mile farm, lots of green, and only a little farmhouse, kind of like at the corner, and a couple of roads.
Right.
So that's basically it. Okay. There is not a lot to look at it from an aerial view. So very interesting, but it's surrounded by barbed wire fence and high tech security. Area 51 is just a massive airbase with tons and tons of buildings, landing strips, communications equipment, you name it. So it's completely the opposite from Skinwalker Ranch. So one is a really highly built military base, easily recognizable. Skinwalker Ranch looks like a ranch. Basically, that's it.
Right, okay. One question I want to ask you is to go on about your API, your aerial phenomena investigations. Can you walk us through what makes you different from other organizations out there?
I think what makes us different, and I've been part of MUFON, I've been a part of NUFORC, I've done lots of cases with those guys. I think we the difference is we streamline and triage our cases. We get lots and lots and lots of cases, but we only have to get cases that meet 5 criterias. And they have to meet these 5 before we even say, okay, let's do an investigation.
Right.
First criteria, there has to be multiple witnesses. We don't do cases where one person saw something. It's just not going to happen. Multiple witnesses. The second criteria, it has to happen during the daytime. We don't investigate, hey, I saw a light in the sky that acted weird. No,
Yeah.
we want to investigate cases where I saw a physical object.
Right.
That's the second criteria. The third criteria, it has to happen within a year. We're not going to investigate cases. I saw a strange object 30 years ago. That's not going to happen.
No.
Okay? We need recent cases. Fourth one is that it has to have some type of evidence, not just witness testimony, but we want a photo, video, even a recording. Sometimes recordings are good. And the last one is the sighting cannot happen in the vicinity of a military base. Because for obvious reasons, that could be something that's man-made. And most importantly, we cannot trespass a military base to do an investigation.
Right.
Now, if you put all those five together, military base, non-military base, evidence, daytime, multiple witnesses, and recently, we can now take 1,000 cases and narrow it down to only 4 or 5 cases.
Brilliant.
We do that for many reasons.
Yeah.
Manpower is the big one, and a good case. You look at it, all those 5 criterias. As an investigator, you have a really good case to go by.
Okay. What
MUFON doesn't do that, for example.
No.
I was part of MUFON and the STAR team for many years, and they'll investigate a case where I saw a weird light in the sky 65 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a case. They'll
Yeah.
open that case.
Yeah.
And there's not much you can do with that.
No. So what cases have you had that have stuck with you and made you think there is more to this and made you want to investigate further?
I'll give you a really good case, and you're going to be surprised by the results. We had a case that met all those criterias other than one. And it was that it happened about 40 years ago. And the reason we took this case is because the gentleman brought actual physical evidence that was metallic, and it was kind of twisted, had some strange writings on it that we couldn't identify. Nevertheless, after a thorough 6 months investigation and an actual trip to the actual location with a couple of archaeologists, we were able to dig up, and I thought this was pretty cool, the remains of a World War II aircraft that had crashed in the vicinity of Roswell. So I thought that was pretty a good case. We had a guy come up and say, we think a UFO crashed here. There were lots of witnesses of strange lights and an explosion. We found this evidence. All this, and there was reports of military there and a quarantine and Men in Black interviews, you name it. And what it all turned out to be was a military aircraft that had crashed in that area, and we found the remains of that aircraft.
Wow.
Now, here's why we took this story also.
Yeah.
We didn't know it was an aircraft, but after we closed the case, we learned that the aircraft crashed the very same day that the Roswell incident happened. And it is believed, or at least it's locally, the legend is, that this aircraft was actually chasing the UFO that crashed at Roswell, and that the UFO had shot down this aircraft right next to Roswell. So that's kind of cool. With that, we did this case. We found the actual craft that had been missing for a while. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Brilliant. So fantastic. One thing I would like to ask you, has there been any cases which you felt actually might be otherworldly in nature?
You know what? I have interviewed perhaps over hundreds, maybe even thousands of witnesses. And I would say a good handful of those witnesses, I sincerely believe that they saw something really unusual.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's extraterrestrial, but the way I've had really, I had witnesses You name CEOs, millionaires, pilots, even retirees. Tell me some really great sightings that they have seen, and by the way they describe the craft, the maneuver, and the characteristics of that UFO. I would say they saw something highly unusual that I cannot. I don't know every single aircraft that's out there or
Yeah.
drone, but I sincerely believe that people have seen some unusual stuff that could perhaps be something that's not ours.
Right, okay. Just a couple of more questions to finish off.
Yeah, sure.
Firstly, do you want to believe or do you already believe in extraterrestrials?
I don't. I definitely believe that there's life in the universe. I don't know that they've actually been here. Now, I don't have, and I always tell this to all my friends and even my students. There's no proof that extraterrestrials have visited Earth. On the other hand, there's no proof that they have not. So I'd like to keep an open mind that perhaps they have been visiting us. My whole purpose is that I don't want to believe. I want to know.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm looking for that physical proof. So maybe one day, I can finally say, okay, everyone, here it is, indisputable proof, and that's my goal. I don't want to chase stories.
No.
I am not a newspaper reporter. I want to follow the evidence.
Okay. Now let's just quickly talk about your books. Area Phenomena, Reviving Ufology for the 21st Century, and Space Science, Challenges for the Extraterrestrial Hypothesis of UFO Phenomena. What are the books basically about, and what are the readers likely to find in them?
Both books are really centered on one topic. How can we make UFO investigations better and more credible? So the first one, Aerial Phenomena, I detail the process step by step on how to properly investigate UFO phenomena. A lot of it comes back from my background as a special agent with Department of Defense, as a scientist as well, and the processes of how to conduct investigations. And I think I gave like 50 case studies of some interesting UFOs. The second book is now a little different. Now it's the extraterrestrial phenomena. So I tell the reader, or at least I like to advise the reader, is what is a possibility of life in the universe? What is a possibility that some of those civilizations are actually visiting us? And so one's about physical investigations, and the second one is more like the astronomer's guide to UFOs. How do we look for life in the universe? And how can we make these investigations better as well?
Okay. Steve's just got a quick question to finish off.
Yeah, just something came to mind when we're looking for actually evidence. The difference that people seem to mix up between actual evidence and anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
Can you shine a light on that for us?
Yeah, I hate the word anecdotal evidence. I like to use the term anecdotal information. And I think that's a big difference as an investigator. Anecdotal evidence really comes from, or information is, when you have a witness that describes an object and they saw something, right? And then you see those similar types of reports or those similar types of witness testimonies. So if I see, for example, that 10 people reported a black UFO or black triangle UFO in a certain part of Texas within a week, you can deduce that, hey, there's got to be something going on here, right? This is anecdotal evidence. You've got 10 different witnesses who saw a similar sighting within the same area. So something's happening there. That's kind of anecdotal evidence. Same thing goes from a larger perspective. Tens and tens of thousands of people are seeing UFOs on an annual basis. That's kind of anecdotal evidence. I can't say all these people are crazy, right? Because people are seeing, even if I just take 1% of those 10,000 people, that's still 1,000 people seeing things, right? So that's kind of anecdotal evidence. We don't have anecdotal physical evidence, which is a piece of the spacecraft, actual entity, the remains of an entity. Here and there, you hear about people saying there's some type of radiation evidence, magnetic interference evidence. But as a scientist, a lot of those things can be, natural phenomena. I'll give you a case. For example, when we were in Utah, my radiation Geiger counter, started going crazy, like around 7:30 p.m., right? And we couldn't account for that day. We were like, okay, this is evidence. Radiation it's going off crazy for no reason whatsoever. We did some astronomical research a couple weeks later, and there was not a gamma ray burst, a solar burst in that area. So there was high levels of neutrinos. So that could have been it. I'm not saying that was it, but I think that's the big difference. Something physical that could be measured, and then something that cannot really be measured. I hope that was a good answer.
Yeah, that was.
That was indeed.
That was a cracking answer.
It is. Yeah, I only really ask because some people take the anecdotal side as being the real thing,
Yeah. You know what, guys? If I could boil it down to one thing, there's all kinds of strange things going on in the world, from chupacabras to aliens to Bigfoot. A lot of those things could be discounted as hoaxes and folklore. But when it comes to UFOs and paranormal, people are seeing things. People are witnessing things. And in some cases, people are physically I guess, interacting with these things. When it comes to paranormal, I've seen strange things. The day my father died, my mom swears to death that she saw my father. And my mom is not crazy. Now, every psychologist will say, oh, she was, that was psychology. Her mind was playing tricks with her. But, I've got all those kind of stories like that. I don't think my mom's crazy. I think she saw my dad when he passed away. In this house where I live at, there's always kind of strange noise and strange shadows. My wife sees shadows all the time. Is my wife crazy? No, I don't think she's crazy. She's one of those that can feel and see strange things. So I think she's seen things. So that's just, people see things that I can't see. That's just, I wish I could see things. But UFOs, it's the same thing as UFOs. People see strange objects moving in really phenomenal speeds or making maneuvers that are not, or something that what aircraft cannot do, at least from what I know.
Yeah.
But things are happening. So not everyone's crazy. Okay? There are legitimate witnesses out there that have seen some strange things. But for some reason, the greater scientific and academic community, they have stovepipe thinking. They think like stovepipes, up and down. They don't think out the box. I'm sorry, that's just where they are. And they're usually centered on funding from grants. So they don't go out, they don't dare to step out the boundaries to look at these strange phenomena, and because they'll be ridiculed, they won't get published, and for those things. But for a scientist or an academia to say aliens don't exist, UFOs don't exist, that's a really closed-minded statement.
Okay. Well, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you for giving us your time, considering what's happened. Can you just briefly tell people how they can find out more about you, Antonio?
Yeah, just Google or just go to aerial-phenomena.org. That's my website. Your best bet also on the website, there's a podcast. We do a podcast once a month we usually talk about cases or what we're doing and stuff like that. I like to put, it's a blog. I write some personal opinion papers there as well. But that's a good, if you want to go to the website, just go to tags. And tags are like, you can just concentrate on UFOs, types of UFOs, things like that. Or just follow my tweets. Most of my tweets are about astronomy, but once in a while I do talk about UFOs, especially if they're really good cases.
Right, okay. Well, thanks again anyway, Antonio. I wish you all the best of luck with you and your family.
Guys, I know you guys follow me on social media, so you will know when I go back out to Utah. And I think I'm going back to Area 51 too this coming year. So just keep a lookout for that, and I'll definitely come back and have a chat with you.
Thanks very much, Antonio.
And our commiserations and best wishes to you and your family.
You too, guys. Have a good night.
Good night. God bless.
Take care.
Bye.
Good night.
Well, that was Antonio. Brilliant.
Nice guy.
Nice guy. What do you reckon, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely fascinating stuff listening to him talk here. It's yeah, really good. Well, shame he's not actually been to the ranch again, but there we
I
go.
know, it sounds as though people don't go there. You know what I mean? They can't get in.
Yeah, they can go to the public land close to it, but they can't actually get on the ground.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But they're obviously finding out stuff about it wherever they go. You know what I mean? Whatever they're actually, doing out there, they're obviously doing something, and they're finding out more and more.
That's it. I mean, you kind of compile a picture of what seems to be going on for different people. But it'd be great to get someone who's actually been there.
I know, it looks as though it's a bit hard to
yeah, that John Alexander guy, he mentioned briefly, I just found some information on. He sounds like someone we should try and contact.
Yeah, I'll probably have a look
Alexander,
into that.
Yeah, it looks like it could be very interesting. Whether he'd come on the show, it's a different matter, unfortunately, but it could be great if you get hold of him.
Well, this is it. Yeah. So, but we'll have to see what we can do. Somebody must have been there, but then again, if it's got that much security there, I'm surprised people can get as close as they are.
But it also begs the question: is why is there so much security there?
That is the question, doesn't it? That, and the fact that it's the same security that deals with Area 51.
Yeah. I found that a bit odd, though. I'd have thought that would have been military themselves, rather than having a private security firm dealing with the public, unless they kind of patrol the outer area and the military police and deal with the inner area, or the army security deal with the inner area. I just find it a bit strange that they'd have a private company. I mean, I know it's America and everything's private over there, but I just find it a bit odd. Not that I think it's wrong, but I just find that strange why they'd employ somebody else like that.
Yeah, but like I said, even they are all ex-military.
Yes, that is true. Maybe that's the whole point, I suppose, when it is comply. It's an independent company that's wholly contracted to the military.
I was a question I just thought that I wanted to ask him, but obviously too late now. But I was wondering if there's ever been any excavation out there, because if there's any underground stuff.
Maybe when we could get him back on again, we can ask him more questions. Hopefully he does go there and gets more information. Yeah,
because like I said, there's only a couple of buildings there, but we know from our own bunkers and that over here. We went to one. We used to love it. You go on the site.
It's just a bungalow,
and it's just a guard room.
Yeah.
And yet,
underneath,
80 feet, 100 feet below, you've got 2 floors.
Well, I've got just down the road from me here, of course, Covenant Hatch nuclear bunker, which is huge underground. It's just like a cabin in the woods, quite literally. I've probably told the story a million times before, but I will just say it again. When I was a kid growing up in the sort of 70s and 80s, it was always rumoured at school that there was some secret nuclear bunker nearby, and no one really, we kind of sort of believed it, or maybe not believed it, weren't sure. Only to find out absolutely years later that it was genuine. There really was a nuclear bunker, which at that time, of course, was secret, now open to the public. It was amazing, and I've probably said before, it actually belongs to the uncle of an old friend of mine who I've lost contact with, unfortunately, a guy called James. He's now moved to Scandinavia in Denmark. He lives and works out there. But it actually belongs to his uncle. The guy, basically, the military came along in the 1950s to his dad, his great uncle, and said, basically, we are sequestering this land, we're going to build on it, and basically, tough, we're having it. And he said, you keep this to yourself, no one needs to know about this, or there will be consequences. This is literally what he was told. And then in the 1980s, when they realised they no longer needed it with the end of the Cold War, they said, well, it's your land, you have it back. Do what you like with it. Fill it in, sell it, whatever you want to do. So he told me it was a tourist attraction. But it was quite amazing that I actually ended up, from having a vague rumour about it when I was a school kid, to actually knowing somebody who later the guy that owns the damn thing is quite amazing.
Right, so, it's somewhere that I would love to go to, but it's a bit too far for me.
Yeah, I'd love to have a visit out there. Absolutely love to. I mean, there's a bit of a trek.
Definitely. Right, well, let's tell you what's coming up next week. We're going all techie next week, I'm afraid. We've got David M. Roundtree on, fingers crossed, touch wood, everything else. Because normally when we get him on, unfortunately, there's an hurricane or something else that comes on that affects us. But hopefully we'll have him on next week, so stand by, Andy, just in case.
Okay.
It's also our 8th anniversary, because it's the 8th of UK Shadow Seekers. They would have been going 8 years, and KTPF has been running consecutively as well. Yeah. So not the show, the actual.
The show itself is what 3 or 4 years now.
It'll be 4 years next year.
Yeah,
So
we're at
we're at
3.5
years at the moment with the show.
Yeah.
So at least, but next week we've got David M. Roundtree. David began his research into the paranormal professionally in 1976 and has experimented with both scientific as well as metaphysical techniques in his study of unexplained occurrences. His primary focus since 1998 has been EVP research, employing his background of audio engineering and psychoacoustics. In 2005, David successfully linked electromagnetic fields as the primary source of EVP. His EVP research has led to the development of his wormhole theory and the multiverse theory concerning the source of the paranormal, for paranormal events. He also talks about the Einstein-Rosen bridge theory as well, which I'm not sure what it's all about, but it's to do with Albert Einstein, obviously. What it actually is, I don't know. I'm just. It says a wormhole or Einstein-Rosen bridge is an hypothetical topological feature that would fundamentally be a shortcut connecting two separate points in space-time that could connect extremely far distances, such as 1 billion light years or more, short distances such as a few feet, different universes.
That's it. Exactly. It's what we used to call a wormhole. It's the same thing. Black hole.
So that's what. It says a wormhole or Einstein-Rosenberg theory. But that's what we're hoping to talk about next week. I have contacted the guy just to make sure I've got his connection right. So fingers crossed. He is in America. In fact, I'll tell you exactly where he is. Hackettstown, I think it said. In Hackettstown, New Jersey. So somewhere around about there. But hopefully he'll be available for the show. Booked him ages ago, but it's weird because every time we have him on, the first time we had him on, they had a snowstorm, didn't they, Steve?
They did.
And it pulled down all the wiring, and we caught half a show, really, didn't we?
We did, and then the following time he was about to get hit with a hurricane.
He was about to get hit with a hurricane. So, third time lucky that we get a full show from him. So, he was supposed to have been on earlier in the year, but obviously he was having problems with that hurricane that was knocking about. So, so we've had to reschedule. So I'm hoping he'll be on next week. But as I say, stand by, Andy, just in case. I'm giving you a week's notice. And it is her birthday, so yes.
Excellent.
So we'll see what happens. Take it from there. Now, I'm going to do the events now. But don't forget, if you would like to be on the show, then contact us at show@ktpf.co.uk, where we are open to discuss any specific area within this genre, including ghost, UFOs, cryptozoology, psychic phenomena, and other strange, supernatural and unexplained mysteries. So get involved, as this is your show too. Don't forget, our magazine, A Company Show, is out now, with contributions from many names within the topics we cover, but other regular features are there and much more. Just click the link on the menu bar and you can view an online digital flip page version or download a PDF version. That's for people that are on www.ktpf.co.uk if you're listening on Worsley Radio. Although the issue started, oh no, we don't need to tell you that, but it's a bi-monthly issue anyway, and the next one will be in December.
Yes.
Also, we are always looking for contributions from people within this subject. If you would be interested, showcasing groups, highlighting venues, etc. If you are, then send your input to editor@ktpf.co.uk. Although we regret we cannot accept every article we receive. So I'm going to do the events now for you, and then we'll hand you over to Andy for his mystery and conspiracy files. See you in a mo.
Minus
We've
one.
got all the news.
Do what?
Minus one.
Minus one.
We've got all the news right here. Don't go away.
Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory.
Okay, and first up on the 6th of November, there's a development and a ghost hunt at Westdale Hall with It's Paranormal UK. Also on the 6th of November, there's a charity event for Marie Curie Cancer Care at Mill Street Barracks in St Helens. That's with UK Shadow Seekers. On the 7th of November, Fear at the Falstaffs with ghostcalluk.com. On the 13th of November, ghostfollowers.com are at the Village in Mansfield. And also on the 13th of November, Ghost Callers UK are visiting the Anison Funeral Parlour. Simply Ghost Nights, you'll find them at Mill Street Barracks on the 13th of November too. On the 20th of November, Simply Ghost Nights are also going to the HMS Trimcommely in Hartlepool. On the 21st of November, Turton Tower in Bolton plays host to UK Shadow Seekers. And on the 28th of November, Whittington Castle is being visited by ghostcallersuk.com. Derek Akora is still doing his Psychic Ether tour. On the 5th of December, he's at the King's Hall, Herne Bay. 6th, he's at the Grosvenor's Gunwolf Keys Casino in Portsmouth. On the 7th, he's at the Lightning House Theatre in Kettering. On the 8th, he's at the Corn Exchange, Exeter. On the 12th, he's at the Grosvenor's Casino, Southend. 13th, he's at the Thanet Casino. 19th is at the Lights at Andover. 20th is at Melksham Assembly Hall. And on the 25th is at the Lion and Swan, Congleton. And don't forget Tony Stockwell. His tour 2015 continues. On the 24th is at Bexeter to Hayes. 25th is at the Fernham Hall, Fareham. And on the 26th is at the Memorial Theatre in Frome. For more information on these and other events, visit paranormaleventsforyou.com.
So check out the one-stop paranormal directory for more investigations and events, available now. Paranormaleventsforyou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. Paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory.
Yeah, that's what's coming up for the November, which we are in now. Soon be Christmas. Don't shout at me all at once.
Yeah.
It's on its way. So, I don't know. So what we're going to do is that we're going to hand over to Andy. And his mystery and conspiracy files.
Some of the stranger things I've come across this week while hunting around. I did come across the butterfly UFO, but that's been nabbed already, so I shall leave that one out. But I thought this was rather fascinating. Just give me 2 seconds to get it to work. Earthquakes that may not be earthquakes. Very strange stuff. Okay, I'll try and hope my voice doesn't give up. It's cold, but here we go. Something out there. Alaska Seismic Station records mystery shift that's not a quake. Scientists feared a huge mystery predator was on the loose outside a remote seismic station after recording equipment was triggered and then wiped out despite there being no earthquake. Interesting. Seismic activity detected equipment picked up a large disturbance before cutting out at the station in Colliff River Mountains Station in southeast Alaska, even though there was no tectonic activity in the area at the time. Tectonic activity, of course, is an earthquake. The shaking detected by the station lasted for 8 minutes before transmission stopped. The Alaska Earthquake Center seismic sensor recorded the increased activity. Field engineer Scott Dalston said the data shows indicates it was something big moving out there before the data stopped coming in. So it was continuing to record, and then the data was lost rather than it stopped, or the connection was lost, so we don't really know how long it went on for. The team feared that they could be facing the same situation as in the Arctic researchers, the 1980s-2011 horror flick The Thing, when they were terrorized by an alien entity. Goes on to say that when the team investigated outside, teeth marks were found on the lids of containers that hold the equipment. Mr. Dalton said, "We still have power out there, so we think that means there's an animal dug up the cables between the sensor and the fiberglass hut that provides the power." After investigating, the team have consoled themselves that hopefully it was probably just a large bear and nothing more dangerous, despite the high seismic readings. And in the image, you can actually see the sudden, rather dramatic bouncing around of the signal, where it was relatively straight until that point. So there we go. Mr. Dalton said, "We aren't sure for certain it was a bear, but the team tweeted, 'Ever wonder what it looked like when a bear takes out a seismic station?' And it appears the station was previously hit by another animal attacks." He added, "The same station was damaged last year by what we think was a goat." So there we go. I thought that was rather interesting, though. They don't know what it was. They are speculating it may have been a large animal, but they don't really know. So I thought it was rather fascinating. Any thoughts, guys?
I don't know.
Oh. Yes, exactly. What kind of size goat was that?
It must have been a big goat, wasn't it?
Seismic goat causing seismic activity. Here's my next one. I thought this is rather interesting as well. One in the eye against the government, one up for us occultists. Here we go. This was a bit of a fuss that was a few years back, but was a possibility where the government were trying to restrict certain websites, including websites to do with the occult, which obviously a lot of people annoy because we were talking about everything from tarot cards, New Age, and magic, etc. And it was kind of being lumped in with sites of a sexual nature, which was rather, it was a bit offensive to us interested in the occult. But just to read this, everybody. EU bans occult websites. EU unbans occult websites banned by David Cameron. It has been announced in the news today that the European Union has voted through legislation that will require all internet providers to treat online traffic without demonstration. I can't speak English today. Effectively ending porn filters established by David Cameron. This rather shows that the bias inherent in the independence of editorial style for these filters applied not just to porn sites, but to websites that dealt with topics and lifestyles that somehow made David Cameron and his government uncomfortable, such as those dealing with the occult. The fact is that the then coalition government attempted to cause sites that dealt with astrology, tarot, magic, New Age, etc. to be filtered out by internet service providers, unless their customers had specifically opted in to search for them. This caused a lot of anger in the occult community. Oh, crap, it didn't, blimey. Which was a great number of authors, including myself, which is the author of the article, and of course soon to be me, when my book eventually does come out, which is supposed to be soon. And providers of goods and services who were using their websites to promote their books, and indeed the other means of making a living. This position will now appear to have been reversed by the European Union, effectively striking a blow for the net neutrality and predominantly showing the finger to the government's attempt to censor the World Wide Web. 3 cheers for the EU, and congratulations to whoever spell it was that actually did the trick. Now, I think it's great. For once, the EU were doing something that's actually in our favour against our own government. I'm very pleased with that. So, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand him banning putting the filters on porn sites.
Yes.
Lumping everything together like that is just completely wrong.
Absolutely. It's there's a world of difference between the two. Ridiculous.
I mean, like once again, I can understand them putting an age limit on it.
Well, not even that so much. I mean, there's no reason why kids can't be interested in this sort of stuff. I personally don't like the idea of kids being interested, but I don't necessarily think it's right we start censoring them because they might be interested in. I mean, I was probably 15, 16 when I first got into tarot cards and had an interest in them. So I don't know, but certainly the whole idea of trying to censor the internet, and unfortunately, for good or bad, we just can't. It's just not. It's not right. I don't think. We have to accept that the stuff is out there, whether we like it or not. And having a nanny state telling us how we're supposed to spend our leisure time, what we're supposed to look at as consenting adults. I think it's wrong. And it's interesting that it was always seen as a Labour thing, the nanny state, that Labour governments were to take more control over the people, and actually the Tories were doing it. They're supposed to be more into laissez-faire, do what you need to do. So it's interesting that it's the opposite government or opposite party to what you'd imagine would be into that kind of censorship.
Yeah, I mean, once again, just on the age thing there, some sites that put themselves out as being with a cult can be quite graphic, and by occultists themselves probably wouldn't class them as being a cult.
Absolutely, no, entirely. It's one of those cover-all terms that's often used for sorts of things that have some which have no direct relationship to each other. I mean, as we've talked about this before, obviously, but the term occult itself just means hidden. It's sort of kept under wraps, and that could be anything from sort of selling your crystals to sort of diabolical, demonic, magic worshipping Satan type stuff, involving sort of animal sacrifice and blood and what have you. That would still, they'd all come under the same umbrella of a cult, but be absolutely world apart. Some 14-year-old girl buying a nice crystal that she likes the look of is nothing. It's a totally different world to some guy going around slaughtering cats or something in the name of Satan. But they both fall under the term occult, so it is a very, very broad brush anyway. Well, here's my next story. Now, this is not a new one by any stretch of the imagination, but I came across it when I was doing some other research, and I found this very interesting. The Pentagon cannot account for 8.5 trillion spent since 1996. $8.5 trillion they can't account for spent in 1996.
That's an expensive black op.
I mean, they could have been to Mars and back on that budget, and no one know about it. If you thought the box rollout of Obamacare, which is obviously the American government's attempt at the NHS, which hasn't worked very well, unfortunately, the government shutdown, or the sequencer requested by Washington, dysfunctional at its worst. Wait till you hear about the taxpayer waste of the Defense Department. Special Enterprise reporter Scott Paltrow unearthed the high cost of the Pentagon's bad bookkeeping in the Reuters investigation. Around $8.5 trillion in American taxpayer money, doled out by Congress to the Pentagon since 1996 has never been accounted for. 1996 was the first year that these records were kept or audited. We talked about during the accompanying videos a bit more information, but here's some of the stuff that they've discovered. The DoD has amassed a backlog of more than $500 billion in unaudited contracts with outside vendors. How much of that money paid for the actual goods and services delivered isn't known. Over the past 10 years, the DoD has signed contracts with provisions for more than $3 trillion in goods and services. How much of that money was wasted on overpayments to contractors or was never spent and never remitted to the Treasury is a mystery. Now, they're basically trying to say a lot of this is bad bookkeeping and bad accountancy, but that's a lot of money to badly account for. It really is. And you do have to wonder if you're not realistically talking about shadow funding, obviously, for experimental spacecraft and aircraft and the kind of things that we know definitely do float about because we see them often as UFOs. But it could well be that these are the test vehicles that this funding's been paying for all these years, and it's been kept quite secret. But it's interesting the way they've kind of appear to have accidentally lost money in terms of bad bookkeeping, when it could be probably a lot more sinister than that, I think. According to the accounting dysfunction leads the DoD to buy too much stuff. No, does it really? One example, the vehicular control arm to supply Humvees in 2008, the DoD had 15,000 parts, a 14-year supply. Anything more than 3 years is considered excessive. So they had anything more than 3 years is considered excessive. So 14-year supply is rather a lot. See, yet from 2010 to 2012, it bought 7,437 more of these parts at a higher price than they'd pay for the ones they already had. The Defense Department in 2012's budget was $565.8 billion. Paltrow points out that more than the annual defence budget of the next 10 biggest military spenders combined. He tells the Pentagon that almost certainly is the biggest source of waste of money in the government has been reporting. But again, this is being reported very innocently as being just mismanagement of funds and accounting. But you do wonder, is it a way of them basically trying to hide and squirrel away the money they've done on research that is being kept under wraps, it's being kept quiet? There was a classic line in the Independence Day film. They said about $10,000 for a toilet seat, $15,000 for a monkey wrench. It's that kind of thing. You can hide massive overfunding to be used for other projects in very simple payments. The other idea, of course, is they've just been stealing the bloody money and put it in their own bank accounts. But I just thought a figure that huge has got to be more investigation done on it. But apart from this, I couldn't find very much more about it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing with our cousins across the shore, when they get into something, they tend to just throw money at it.
Yes.
But another point connected to that is, in a lot of cases, if you don't spend your budget, even though you don't need to spend it at that time, your budget gets cut.
Oh, absolutely. I used to work for the South End Council.
Yeah, so they end up spending on stuff they don't bloody well need.
Yeah.
Just to keep the budget going.
I say I just worked for the South End Council in the finance department, and that was exactly the case. If you spend less that financial year, you'll be given less the following year. But overspending of $8.5 trillion is rather frightening. So what on earth is going on with that money? And I do wonder if it's not developing sort of secret technology and secret weaponry that we suspect may be out there. So if it is out there, there's where the funding for it's coming from. By bad accountancy, apparently. But here's the next story. I thought this was rather interesting. Again, I've struggled to find more information about this one, but I thought this was very interesting. SETI receives first alien signal from mysterious star KIC 8462852. This is actually from a German website and been translated from the German, and there's actually a couple of bit strange grammar going on, but I'll read it nevertheless. Since the discovery of the mysterious distant star named KIC 8 whatever, that scientists saw a huge artificial structure near the star's surface, SETI astronomers have announced the first alien signals to be received from this strange array. Now, this is something that came out, I don't think we covered it a couple of weeks back, but this strange object that was supposed to be near a distant star that appeared to be absorbing energy, which is what people thought maybe it was artificial, but now they're saying they've actually picked up some kind of signal from it. Awaiting more accurate information about the way the signal before, but from an interview with the universetoday.com's Dr. Gerard Harp from the SETI Institute shows that there is a weird periodic signal, which although potentially natural origin, but there is clearly a value to examine it more closely. Despite the natural explanation so stressed in Universe Today, prefer Harp, but also distant intelligence source. So it's been translated directly by auto translators, so the English is not great in places. But basically, they're saying that there's a signal there that might be natural, but they don't know until they examine it closer. While ATA normally absorb radio frequencies in the microwave range of 1 to 10 gigahertz, an ordinary kitchen microwave oven produces a microwave around 2 gigahertz. Looking for the SETI astronomers, KIC currently, especially after the transfers an even wider energy spectrum. I'm going to stop reading this because it really is this badly written by the auto-translator, but it's basically suggesting that there is a signal that is coming from KIC, this megastructure, which potentially is not natural. It may well be a sign of extraterrestrial intelligence, but they're not at this point willing to rule that out. And the American Association of Variable Star Observers has called on its members in a warning for the investigation of the star opposite to Universe Today. It also reflects the astronomer Elizabeth Scales. This really is this badly written, by the way, guys. I'm not making this up, but it is really hard to read what's being said here. But essentially, that's the argument. So I can get it across a bit clearer than that, but that they do think they've found an artificial signal coming from this strange array. That make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so I kind of skim-read it earlier and thought, well, I can try and correct it as I go along. But no, it's obviously been directly translated from the German. But they're essentially saying that there could well be, not only this strange array seems to be out there, but it may well be generating a signal of some kind that is within the bandwidth that would normally be checked, but it's much stronger, I think is basically what they're saying. They would have expected it to have been from a purely natural source. So we shall have to wait and hear, as it were, rather than wait and see. Okay, here's one more I thought was rather slightly amusing, in a very unpleasant way, but Russia warns of Donald Trump assassination plot. Da, da, da. The Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, SVR, reports indicate that presidential candidate Donald Trump may be in grave danger after the CIA discovered that his personal travel itinerary had been hacked from his laptop by ISIS. And according to this report, they have previously reported on the 26th of October report that terror attack on a French bus that killed 43 linked to Islamic State found in the possession of one of the 5 Saudi Arabian nationals detained by the Lebanese intelligence services this past Monday after their private jet was forced to land by Federation Aerospace Forces. It was a highly encrypted laptop device. Upon Lebanon's General Directorate of General Security seizing of this laptop device, this report continued. We have requested assistance from the SVR in defeating the encryption, which has immediately been granted. Once a laptop is in the possession of the SVR, this report notes it was flown to Moscow where computer security analysts were able to unlock its secret information, for which the most startling stroke confusing was the document listing the entire travel itinerary of the private security plans for Donald Trump for the month of October. Continued within on this Donald Trump itinerary document too, this further notes that the routing computing number of the SVR had privately ascended to be used by the My God, is it me or is this really badly written again? Used by the... It's just... I'm not... I can read. It's just really badly written stuff. As to why these Islamic terrorists have in their possession a CIA-provided itinerary of Donald Trump, this report doesn't state, due to there being no other documents in the laptop seized associated with it. With Donald Trump's policy positions on the Middle East mirroring the Russia's, however, this report says that he's been reviled by the warmongers in the United States of both parties since July 2000. When he released his book entitled America We Deserve, with a full 14 months prior to the September 11th attacks, predicted not only this horrific crime would happen, but actually stated that Osama bin Laden would be blamed. Now that is interesting. So Donald Trump apparently predicted 9/11. In fact, this report also feared that is Donald Trump by his nation's warmongers should he take power and uncover all of their secrets. Top establishment Republican consultant Rick Wilson, in an interview with MSCBN, said it was Chris Hayes last week, actually called for this assassination, and is in part one of the first one can read from the transcript. Right, I'll try and read this. Trump is still a very powerful force right now because he appeals to part of the conservative base that Wilson said activated his nativist message. Wilson insisted that the donor class can't sit back on the sidelines and say, oh, well, don't worry, this will work itself out. They are still going to have to go in and put a bullet in Donald Trump, Wilson said, and that's a fact. Lovely. Following established PSVR procedures, when this threat was detected against any foreign national, the report says the Foreign Ministry was directed to convey this information to the Secret Service, who has the responsibility of protecting the nation's leaders and presidential candidates. Upon contacting the US Secret Service, though, this report concludes they informed the Foreign Ministry that Donald Trump was not under their protection and refused to take information, referring to it instead to Mr. Trump's private security company, but which they stated they didn't know who they were or have any contact information for. So not contained in this SVR report is the important note, the fact that Donald Trump has requested Secret Service protection and has so far been denied. Again, not the best written report, but interesting that they uncovered this laptop with his travel itinerary on it. No associated documents or how they got this information or anything to put it into context, but they seem to have had this information, which is rather strange, don't you think?
I mean, I don't particularly like the man, but if it's got out that the CIA travel things, we could end up with another Kennedy.
Absolutely, and certainly the idea that he was somehow, I've never read his book, obviously, it's not my cup of tea, but the idea that he somehow predicted 9/11 and Bin Laden would be blamed, I find it is worth further investigation. Pardon me.
That's another book for you to read, then, Andy.
I think so.
Or at least peruse.
Speaking of which, I still haven't received my copy of what's her name, Judy Wood's book on Where the Towers Go, and I've heard nothing from her back either about coming on our show. So I'm gonna have to investigate that. It suddenly occurred to me that was weeks ago. I haven't received the copy, so we shall see. Hello, what was that? Someone said a mouth organ. Okay, well that's my little collection. I have one more, which is of course my crazy website of the week.
Oh no!
Yes.
What are you gonna come up this time?
Now everybody who can see this, I'll put it in the chat room, of course. Don't have your sound on when you click on this because it's rather crazy. I recognise you probably have to drop this feature soon if you're going to lose our chat room facility, but for now I'll still keep it on. There you go, there's the sound. If you go over the image, can you see it? It's got Medidate, Jate. It's green-black background of Organic Tree Spirit, digital by Larry Carlson. You see it?
Yep.
Now, if you move your mouse over the plant thing in the middle, it changes shape. See the pattern it forms? It's rather clever.
Yeah.
And then if you go over the word, you get meditate. The words at the top where it says it. Click enter, and you go into... Oh my god! Very strange music and swirling patterns. And then you click on one of the words at the bottom of the screen. You get very, very bizarre, surreal imagery. It's rather like an acid trip, basically. Something out of, I don't know what. I'll leave you guys to explore that because it is absolutely psychedelic explosion of sound and colour, and it'll give you either a trip of your life or a bad headache, one of the two. Just very strange websites. But it basically people obviously spend hours putting these kind of sites together, and you think, well, why? Well, is there a reason for this? Is it just because you need to get out your inner demon, or you need to
being brainwashed?
Right? Oh yeah, or is it exactly that? Perhaps it's deep CIA brainwashing technology being implanted to strange videos that you find you can't help watching. You find you sitting there for hours, just zombified, spaced out by this stuff, and then you go out and buy the latest new product because there's a subliminal message in there saying, "Buy this thing you don't need, spend some money that you haven't got."
Well, there was lots of rumours a long time ago that they used to do that at the cinema, wouldn't there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the classic examples.
Just put the odd frame every now and again with a hot dog in it or something.
And of course, the classic one we know, because is The Exorcist with the face, but every piece of serious psychological research has been done on subliminal advertising says it doesn't work. It really has no effect. It's just a momentary flash of image. It would work just as well if you put it on the screen for 10 seconds and said, look at this. It has exactly the same level of effect. If you're interested, you'll notice it. If you're not, it just goes past you. It's just, there's no research to say it actually works. This is why they don't do it anymore. People say, oh, it's dangerous, it's dark, it's dangerous, mind control. It's not. It just doesn't work. It's why no one uses it anymore. Giving up on it. So there we go. Well, that's my little collection for madness for tonight. I might find myself having to rewrite some of these links into better English so it's actually easier to read. Because some of those are pretty dreadful. But I just find them interesting. And the space sound one, I want to find out more about it because it's bizarre that I can only find that site and obviously its German equivalent. Nothing anywhere else. So I do wonder.
Okay.
But there we go.
Right, thank you. That was these mystery and conspiracy files and silly videos. Now, if you're into a tongue-in-cheek poke at current and historical facts and fiction, then why not tune in every Thursday evening to A Can of Worms, hosted by Dan Franklin and Jed Hindmarsh, who will be shedding new light and dismissing truths on various topics. Described as the radio show for the curious and questioning mind, why not give them a listen at 8:30 p.m. UK time on worsleyradio.co.uk.
But please do check that because they was on a little earlier
That's all changed now.
Because our American friends hadn't changed their clocks
They
yet.
changed it last night.
Oh, yes.
They changed their clocks last night,
Yes,
so
they
they've
did.
caught up again.
That's how come we had Antonio at 3:30 in his time. So, right. So that's basically it for tonight, then, guys.
Yes. And
Okay.
the lovely Antonio, I hope everything goes well with his
Bereavement. Yes.
Yeah.
It's very nice of him to still keep his date, I must admit.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
So, even though it was short. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and we have enjoyed your company as usual, and look forward to seeing you again next week from 8 p.m. on www.ktpf.co.uk.
Yes, and thanks for listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show, which is supported by Phenomena Magazine and Beyond Parazine. And just before we go, I'd like to say, Andy, please get yourself well.
Yes, on the upside of this cold, but it's more affecting my voice than anything else. But I'm not feeling too bad now, which is a relief. But thank you very much.
I think it took you about 3 weeks to get rid of your cold last time.
Oh, it kind of lingers. The coffee bit lingers, which is really irritating.
I don't know. Well, until next time, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from her.
And it's good night from them.
So, that's it. All that's left to say is
Keep the paranormal friendly.
Good night, and God
guys.
bless. Bye.
Well, bye-bye.
This is where it's at.
From ghoulies and ghosties and long-legged beasties and things that go bump in the night, visit our ghost store and next time you might be able to show what just gave you a fright.
So for all of your investigation needs, with over 100 products in stock waiting for dispatch within 24 hours, you need to visit theukghoststore.com.